2 minutes past 9 a.m. Much thanks for being with us on UBC TV. Welcome to The Extra. Now, The Extra is an extension of Good Morning Uganda. But just to remind you, Good Morning Uganda, we are always here from 6:30 till 9 when the team sees off, but then we have an extension with The Extra where still we are looking at issues of national concern. And this morning, we are going to be looking at the road network in Kampala, but more so, plans by KCCA to improve 27 road junctions. Now, these have been roundabouts, and they're going to be ensuring that these roundabouts are removed and the places are well lit. Now, joining me to discuss this, I have the Deputy Executive Director, Kampala Capital City Authority, KCCA, Engineer David Luyimbazi. Engineer, you're most welcome to our studios.
Good morning. How are you? Thank you for hosting me.
Now, to begin with, when we talk about KCCA and the road network, how far does your mandate go?
What do you mean, how far?
Because you'll find roads that they will tell you these are division, then these are KCCA.
Okay, maybe the only...
I don't want to throw arrows to you that are not meant for you.
No, okay, the only challenge, distinction can be, we have national roads, we have urban roads, we have district roads, and then community access roads. National roads are operated and managed by Uganda National Roads Authority. Then urban roads are managed by the distinct urban authorities like KCCA or Jinja Municipal. Then district roads are run by the local governments. Then community access roads by, again, communities and local governments. Now, within the jurisdiction of Kampala,
the 5 divisions of Kampala.
All those urban roads are run by KCCA. Maintained, developed, operated, and looked after by Kampala Capital City Authority. Not only roads, but drainages, street lights, name it. All that falls under our care as KCCA.
Now, that said, what do you make of the state of roads in Kampala that are directly under you? We just had a few showers, and some totally became impassable.
Yeah, of course, the thing is, the issue of roads in Kampala is more complicated than somebody can view it. We inherited a road network that was old and dilapidated. Typically, a road life is supposed to be between 15 and 20 years. Most of our roads are over 40 years old. They were built in the 1960s, 1970s. These are the roads we're dealing with. Even the patching we're doing is not the right treatment. We're supposed to be overhauling them, rehabilitating them. Now, we have about 2,100 kilometers of roads, of which 650 are paved. Of the 650, 60% are dead. They've run out of their service life. That's about 320 kilometers. Okay? Those are the roads we're having to deal with now to try and keep motorable by patching, although the actual requirement is rehabilitation or reconstruction. Now, you talked about the rains. Now, the rains is a different thing. Now, when it rains, that runoff water, the roads are only supposed to take runoff that's supposed to come off the road. However, runoff that's coming off bare ground is supposed to be taken to the lake by stormwater drains, the Nachivo channels, the Lubiji, the Nalukolongos. Those are the channels that are supposed to be taking that surface runoff from bare ground to the lake. Now, you will find that now the challenge we have is that people have decided to develop in the wetlands, in the reserves of the channels, blocked the channels themselves, in that water has nowhere to go. So at the end of the day, that water is supposed to be driven or taken to the lake by those stormwater drains, ends up staying and stagnating on the roads. So the problem is not a KCCA problem, it's a community problem. It's a Kampala problem where it is you and me who have to change how we do things. If you don't have a permit to develop in a wetland, in a reserve of a water channel, building of a water channel, don't do it. When you do it, you hurt the country. So that is a challenge we're dealing with. So don't ask what KCCA can do, ask what you as an individual are doing to damage the city.
But well, I won't excuse you on this because you authorize to a certain extent, you're meant to protect to a certain extent. When I'm trying to build an infrastructure in Machindye, where I come from, as soon as a foundation is started, if I don't have a permit, then I'll see your men and women come over, take the wheelbarrows, arrest some of the people at the site. Then I often wonder, how then do we see some of these magnificent buildings stand and reach a test of time?
Now, of course, you're talking about major developments. Now, when you go to the wetlands, when you go to the reserves of drainages, the kind of structures there are not these normal structures that we normally stop. And many of these structures were built over 10, 20 years ago. The settlement in wetlands, settlement in drainage channels did not begin 2, 3 years ago. It is something we inherited and we're having to deal with. That's why you see the president ordered the clearance of Lubiji channel. Okay? Because these are historical problems and they cannot be cured by the little actions you see us doing now. When we come and stop you, we're not, when we stop you, even if we stop you, there are about 10,000 homes in the wetlands. Wetlands are supposed to be the depository of what, that's where water goes and rests before it's discharged into the lake. But now, when people settle, the sponge effect of the wetland is lost. So the wetland now also begins to, becomes like a bare ground. It's also running off water. So basically, we have more runoff than we should actually have. So these historical problems cannot be cured by the small actions you see now. Right now, we're just trying to make sure the bad situation does not get worse.
But it's already there.
It's already, the situation is already there. And this drainage problem, this flooding problem, is not going to be cured by the activities we're doing. It's going to be cured by taking people out of wetlands, taking people out of the reserves of drainage channels. Because recently, last weekend, I was in Nalukolongo channel. Now, because people have settled there and there's too much human activity, the dumping ground of the waste is the channel itself. So even when the runoff, when it rains, the runoff will find the channel full. So you tell me. Those are people who stay awake the whole night. Whenever it rains, they live in squalid conditions. They basically have no life. And until we take them out of there, shall we cure the problem of flooding in the city?
Well, that said, our viewer, I want to tell you that you'll be part of the topic of discussion this morning by simply using our WhatsApp number to send me a WhatsApp message or a text message as we discuss with our Deputy Executive Director of Kampala Capital City Authority, Engineer David Luyimbazi, on the road network in Kampala, but also the plans by KCCA to work on 27 roundabouts. What are they going to be doing, and why are we going to be spending quite billions of money into this venture? Now, Engineer, you talked about the flooding, but also even away from the flooding, on a normal day when there is no anything similar to a drop of water, we still have challenges with our road network. When you're coming from up country, for example, you can doze off and someone's driving very patiently, but the way you know you've reached Kampala is when you begin hearing those potholes, and now no one has to let you know that you're in Kampala. You simply wake up and okay, you've reached the city, I can feel the potholes. Now, as KCCA, we believe with the KCCA coming into force from Kampala City Council, your budget was highly amplified. And we expected so much for the better. Not saying that there's nothing you have done, but still we believe there is so much that needs to be done regarding the roads that we are talking of in a capital city.
Yeah. It's nice the way you brought it up. However, I have to tell you this. Roads are expensive to build. Roads cost money. If you look at the budget of KCCA and contrast it with the budget for maybe the National Roads Authority, where you talk about sleeping while on the road, the distinction will show you the disparity in conditions. We've been getting a budget of about 64 billion every financial year to try and improve the roads that are old, as I can tell you. With 64 billion, you can barely build 10 kilometers of roads every year. We have 320 kilometers to fix to turn around the fortunes of the city. If you can only do 10 kilometers a year, that speaks volumes to the challenge we've been facing. The good thing, I mean, the good news is now we've been arguing in Parliament, arguing with the Minister of Finance, articulating the fact that we're not going to turn around the fortunes of the city unless the financing situation changes. And this financial year, the fortunes of the city are going to change, because at least the government allocation is increased to 166 billion, and the funding from development partners is going to go to about 500 billion. So we have about 650 billion available for roads. And with the GOU contribution, there is flexibility. We can focus on the worst sections first, worst, urgent and important sections, so that we can be able to fix those, so that we can be able to turn around the situation in the city. So going forward, I think we even have a presidential directive now to say we must turn around the conditions of the roads in the city. And through a prioritization framework, we use what we call a campus strategy. We're going to focus on the most important sections first, where the biggest pain is, then we begin descending to the less important sections. And you'll see a change. Without financing, without funding, there's no way roads in the city can be improved.
Now, Edie, you talked about a road moving to about 15 years. Let's look at the quality of what you deliver to Ugandans. Recently, we had the Non-Aligned Movement Summit. We had also the G7 meeting.
G77.
77 in Munyonyo. Now, quality of what is being done. There's been arguments that even the work you do, you're not looking at longevity. You're only looking at solving a problem there, but it's going to repeat in a very short time. That durability is not part of what you're doing, but also the other element has been the cost of what you spend, maybe per kilometer, compared to what other cities or other countries are spending. KC has been highly criticized that the amount of your quotations, values, and all these are far high, that we end up getting little compared to what we should have gotten.
I even sometimes I run short of words when I get such allegations being made. But again, I have to be humble enough and answer them every time they come up. As I told you, roads are expensive.
Yes.
In here, they're very expensive. And the thing is, to procure a road contract, we openly advertise. There is competition. And when we advertise, all bidders who are capable put in their bids. We choose the lowest responsive bidder, the one giving us the lowest price that responds to the qualification requirements in the tender. So it is a market-driven process. It is not something that is orchestrated in KCCA. And this is the same practice Ministry of Works uses, National Roads Authority uses, Ministry of Water uses, in fact, all agencies of government use. It's under the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Authority. So it is both backed up by law and a market-driven process. Now, when you choose us in KCCA as an entity that we are inflating prices, then I wonder where that accusation comes from. This is a market-driven process. So, on average, to upgrade a road, it will take us between 6 to 7 billion, based on the recent prices we have. And in some cases now, we got very, very abnormally low bids, like on these recently advertised or awarded contracts for African Development Bank. Abnormally low bids that even somebody who's gotten a job cannot even subcontract it, because the local contractors cannot do work at that price. So these are contracts who are most likely to make losses, but they have contracts. Now let's go to NAM. NAM, what is perceived as a low standard road. Now, NAM, again, the standard of road we're doing was different. We're doing what we call a minor rehabilitation. We're trying to recycle the existing pavement, relay it, and overlay it. I don't know whether you get me.
It's sounding technical, but I'll get you in a corner.
Now, we scarify the existing, the top surface of the road, where there are potholes. We scarify it, like dig it up, mix it up, add in some additional material like crushed rock, compact it. We've removed the potholes and created a smooth surface. Then we put collars or asphalt concrete, so that people have a smooth driving surface. This work was done in a period of about 3 months. In order to address the pressing issue, we had visitors coming. We had to give a good facelift to the city, okay, and also take away the prevalent potholing. Now, the standard of that road is far different from what we are now doing, like on Spring Road on Port Bay Road. We're taking time to relocate utilities, take them out of the road corridors, building the drainage system, installing culverts and everything. Then we come to build the road layers. Then we shall put walkways as well, put their street lights, put their traffic lights. What the outcomes you get from those different constructions is different. With NAM, we shall be lucky to get between 4 and 5 years of good life, by which time we shall have gotten money to fix it at this standard. For the ones we're doing with the ADB funds, we shall get minimum of 20 years of service life.
Now, we've just talked about some roads we are doing through loans. But this has also, KC has also been criticized that priorities with this money, sometimes you end up spending money for a program on issues that are not very clear compared to concentrating more on the road. Now, for example, the Spring Road you've talked about, the Silver Springs and all that. There is something I want you to clarify, that much as this is donor money, or a loan that we are getting to work on a specific road, that KCC, you took about 600 million and allocated it to buying condoms, clinics for HIV, non-relevant issues actually, yet maybe 600 could push us somewhere more.
You know, when we borrow money, we also have to subscribe to the policies of the lenders of the money.
Okay.
One of the principles behind controlling the spread of HIV is that you introduce new communities to a host community. These new people who are building the road have the resources, have the money. They can easily now come and create new infections in the area, introduce new diseases. And HIV has long been one of the biggest fights of government. And we've done well as a country by embracing such policies. All road projects must have an HIV prevention policy. You must set up a clinic. You must have a doctor in there. You must have testing facilities. You must have sensitization programs to sensitize both the people you're bringing to the host community and also the community, educate them to make sure they are aware. And if they are to engage in sex, they practice safe sex. So 600 million looks a lot of money. Do a quick division. This is a 3-year construction period project. Divide 600 million by 36. It comes around, if I calculated, the last time I calculated was about probably 18 million per month. How many people in government, individuals, earn 16 million or thereabout a month? The many. Now look at the impact of that 16 million in terms of saving communities from the spread of HIV. Look at the cost and the impact, the consequential impact that you're trying to reduce or avoid. It's not a lot of money.
Engineer, well, my viewers will be able to send in. Please, the technical team, send me the, please let's display the WhatsApp number so that someone can send us. We can have viewer feedback on giving us text messages, sending your text messages on that number, or you can send in a WhatsApp message. I'm still with Engineer David Ruyimbas, who is the Deputy Executive Director at KCCA. We are looking at the road network in Kampala and the plans by KCCA to ensure that about 27 roundabouts are no more, but we have something better than that. Now, this will take me quickly into this. We all know that a budget is what you plan to get and how you plan to spend it. Now, with the amount of money, and I stand to be corrected on how much, because someone was telling me that you're going to spend over 3 billion into this issue of ensuring that the 27 roundabouts are no more, but this will ease traffic. Engineer, how did you arrive at this, and is it effective?
Thank you, Robert. I like your questions, they're interesting questions. Is it effective? Now, when you have a normal roundabout, you're sharing space, okay? You're sharing space based on who has priority. The person in the roundabout has priority over the person entering the roundabout. Now, when you do have a signalized junction, you're sharing time. Time is given to the arm that has based on the traffic loading, because we have like 4 arms entering a junction. Depending on the traffic volumes on each arm, green times are given to make sure there is efficient use of that space by sharing time. It's been proven technically that time sharing is more efficient than space sharing. Because space sharing sometimes can accommodate bad user behavior. Then it depends on the driver behavior itself and so many other factors.
Very true.
So time sharing, where you have a robot that is giving time different arms, is able to ensure more efficient use of that junction and better dispersal of traffic. So by upgrading from regular roundabouts to signalized junctions, we're going to improve the movement of traffic in the city. That is the background, the notion behind why we're moving from removing the roundabouts to have signalized junctions. Now, talking about the money, this is a grant from the government of Japan, a grant about 78 billion actually. But it involves so many aspects. We are removing the roundabouts and introducing signalized junctions, but also we've built a traffic control center in the city. Now these junctions will be controlled, which will be fully equipped. It will be a smart traffic control center. So these junctions are controlled remotely in our traffic control center. We shall have traffic police there. Instead of having physical traffic policemen on the ground, you shall have them in traffic control center so they can be able to manage who they give green time. So it will be a smart management of the city.
Not the issues of violating traffic lights by traffic officers, because the law gives them precedent over.
Yes, now they'll be able to have a place where they can do it. Now we shall start off with 27 junctions, but then we shall spread it over to all the other junctions that we have in the city, so that they are remotely controlled rather than having physical interventions. So people will be able to respect the green times and the functioning of the junction rather than respecting individual commands of physical officers.
You've just survived my question, because it is a grant. Therefore, a grant is conditioned. A grant we are not going to pay.
No, we're not
It is
paying
just
that.
given to us. So that is okay. We just hope we get the best use of our money. Engineer.
Again, the good thing to either give you comfort, the procurement of these works were done in Japan. The procurement process was done by JICA. The contractor was given to us, including the supervising consultant. And so you don't need to now belabor yourself with the cost so much.
It is Good Morning Uganda Extra Road Network, and of course to have 27 roundabouts now have signal lights, and this will save a lot of time to Ugandans. Now let's look at the issue of feeder roads. I want to believe that the jam, that is a problem to us. If we invested more in feeder roads, and I'm glad there are some areas where KCCA has done a tremendous job. If you look at Chira, you will see that there's a lot of improvement. What are your plans on feeder roads, improving them?
Now again you're mixing up. Feeder roads would be Ministry of Works that deals with feeder roads.
Maybe I've used that term.
Those are community access roads.
Those community.
Chira Road is more. Chira Road is outside KC's jurisdiction. They're also an independent entity.
Okay.
So they do their own work independently. They're a local government.
Oh, then I must commend them. They are doing tremendous work.
And why don't you commend us as well?
I would have loved to commend you. But the issue is, I feel you have a bigger budget. And even if we call it little, I feel even the little you have, to the satisfaction of Ugandans, engineer, you've not done them justice. Because let's look at the little you have. What are some of the roads you can proudly talk about and say, here KCCA has given value for money to Ugandans, and at least it's an example for us to look at and say bravo to KCCA. Here, our tax money is going here.
Okay, since you ask me, I will also not be I'll be generous and be able to talk about some of the roads. Now, using government of Uganda money, we've done Zadoki Road, Lasto Road. We've done East Konge Road. We've done Kakonge Road, Naguru Road, Mesaga Road, Lubaga Kisasizi Road, Naguru, Naduli Kibale Road. Mobutu Road has been done. That was done during the NAM. Prince Bandri Kakungulu Road was done. We've done Lubiri Ring Road. Okay.
I'm trying to connect Lubiri Ring Road.
The road around the palace in Lubiri. Okay.
Okay.
We've reconstructed a number of roads in Nakasero. Okay. So those are but some of the roads I can talk about. Of course, the other roads we've done, like Akasha Road has been done. There's Lugobal Nabweru Road, Mambule Alice Road, Bawalakata Crossing along Hoima Road. To mention but a few, we've done the Lubiji Channel, Nakamiro Channel. Those ones have been upgraded, the financing from the bank. We have done a number of projects. Ntinda Kisasi Road.
Yes, that at least. I can Tinda Chisasi Road, yes.
You know.
It's well lit.
You see. Now those, okay, that was done using money we had borrowed from World Bank. So we've done a number of roads. And if I'm to aggregate, I think a total of around 70 kilometers have been done in the last 3 years. Now the challenge why you don't feel our effect is that the magnitude of the problem compared to the pace at which we are curing it is where the distortion comes in. If you have 320 kilometers of dead roads, and you're doing like probably, if 70 have been done in the last 3 years, those are about 25 kilometers every year. You will not feel the effect. Okay? But now with the changed outlines, because now this financial we're having a budget of 800 billion, compared to previous financial when we had a total budget of 450 billion. Now, of the 450 billion, 250 billion was going to the wage and non-wage. So that was not a productive part of the budget. Okay? Now we have 800 take off 250, you have almost 650 billion available. Now, of course, we're managing hospitals, schools, markets, mention it. We manage, it's an entire government in KCC. So the remaining budget will be available for roads will be about 550 billion, which we shall put to good use to try and see that the public feels, yes, now there is active deployment of resources to cure the problem of bad roads.
Now, we are talking about the roads. I also want us to discuss the issue of maintenance. I must say, the roads are old.
Yeah.
Like a number of them, you said have lived over 40 years instead of 15 years. But also I see delays in maintenance. Or sometimes when we talk about maintenance, the quality of maintenance. A small pothole starts, then maybe if it's addressed as teaching time, it couldn't have, we wouldn't have the lake kind of pothole there. But KCCA keeps watching until this becomes a bigger problem, and then we have a city exhibition and all that. Then also when they come to maintain, I'm not an engineer, I'm a journalist, pardon me in case I don't bring out the picture, but to my lay understanding, I see something similar to soils, something, then today they cut patches, then they put soil, then something similar to tar is placed on this road. And when you pass in the evening, say, oh, they have repaired this. Pass there 3 days, but I saw these guys causing jam here, trying to repair, and it's the same thing happening. So you take long to maintain these roads, and these become deeper ditches. But even when you do maintain, sometimes we wonder, baye mutaka engineer mukoze bintu, you know, we don't, speaking from a layman's perspective, maybe these are the materials that are supposed to be used to do this. Or I don't understand what I see very well. Why is this so?
I'm trying to find the right words to use. The right words to use that can maybe be able to portray the right image.
Yes.
When you're repairing, like, even when you're getting a tooth repair, they use similar materials to what your tooth character has. They will not bring, they'll not use like your skin or get flesh to repair your tooth.
True.
So a road has about three or four layers. We have what we call a sub-base, like the foundation layer. Then we have a base course, and then the wearing course. Now, the wearing course is intended to protect the underlying layers, which are normally made of either crushed rock or gravel, what you're calling soil. Soil is for planting, where you plant, and that is soil. But when we're building roads, we use a material called gravel. It is derived from earth, but it is a special material. Now, you cannot use soil to repair a road because it is not compatible with the materials in the road. It will not survive. In any case, should you put it there, that road, that pot will completely deform in a very short while. So we get materials that it's called gravel. Now we try to make sure that when we are repairing that road, we use similar materials. Now, if we use for a base course, we use crushed rock, we shall come and put there crushed rock. So there is compatibility. Then these materials, if you have crushed rock, if you expose it to traffic, it wears, it is whipped off. So you put there that colas or asphalt to protect the layers that are holding the road together. They are weak if exposed to weather, but very strong when protected. This wearing course you put on is not as strong as them in terms of bearing the thrust of traffic.
So that is what should be done.
Yeah, and that is what we do. Now the challenge you find is now, as KCC, again following the procurement law, we outsource most of the work. The supply of materials is done externally. Now we'll come and cut the edges of the portal.
Yes.
Then issue call of orders to supply materials. The one who's supplying the gravel is supposed to deliver the gravel, we compact. The one who's supposed to supply the asphalt also delivers the asphalt, and then we put and finish the portal. Now sometimes we do get challenges. When we make this call of order, sometimes our suppliers don't have these materials. In fact, we're trying to move away from that practice. They're what we call horizontal contracts. You have somebody supplying gravel, somebody supplying asphalt, and for us to do the cutting and compacting. Now you find that arranging all of us to be available, ready at the same time, does not always happen. So it is right to criticize us that yes, there are delays there, but it's because of the structuring of the way we do the work. You'll find the supplier probably has another commitment somewhere. He needs probably 3 or 4 days or a week. Then you end up having that portal open for longer than it needs to be. So, but we are trying to see how we fix it. We get somebody with a vertical contract with all the sections. You supply the gravel, supply the asphalt, and then you do it.
Well, that's well explained to my contentment, and of course the viewers, where you say you're going to be getting someone with that. Now let's look at some of the messages. Oh, my dear viewers, please let's make these short. Let's make them short. Good morning. UBC government had never been serious with development. First, let me say, when the houses in towns were government property, it was the first thing that this is quite long, my brother. Please, let's make these messages a bit short. Good morning. This is Philip from Karamoja. Engineer, I'm amazed of what you say, that less important areas in Kampala. Kampala is an international city of Uganda, and all parts of the city are critical. Let's not play rhetorics to any development agenda. Let's make names of remembrance in the future. When we are given responsibility, let's show cause for service delivery. Are you saying government does not prioritize Kampala roads as important? Well, that comes to you. Good morning, UBC. Aziz from Entebbe. Do whatever you do, nae border, oh, disaster. Now let's stick to the point, because now there's so much we can discuss regarding KCCA. Okay, I have to look at that more. And someone says, there is stability technology. Okay, says, there is stabilization technology for chapter than conventional road construction technology. Hope engineer understand this better. It does not need asphalt, then all and whatever you've mentioned, etc. It's what military use in swampy, muddy roads. Why keep the country at ransom? I'm Luzinda from Muruge. Okay. Then, thank you, the Deputy ED. I concur with KCCA about their plan. My question is, recently, what caused KCCA workers to uproot trees planted recently? Asante Sana Isaac Wapakaburo. And this one is just appreciating you and saying, tell KCAD director, why do they allow the rich ones to build on swamps and water retention areas in Buziga, Kauku? Normally, one must require a KCCA approval before embarking on the project. Now, the entire area are having standing structures which forces water to flood around Buziga, and eventually whenever there is a downpour. Corruption is the main thing that is killing KCCA. Let them stop it and everything will fall in place. And finally, for now, let engineer explain the unit cost of Kampala with ADB. Can't we have done more kilometers than what we are going to do? So let's first have those, engineer.
Good, thank you so much. And I really appreciate the questions. I'll begin with the issue of course I use the issue of prioritizing what we call important roads. This is not to say that any part of Kampala is less important, but when you don't have enough resources, you have to prioritize. Look at a road like Kampala Road, Sapolo Kagwa Road, Port Bay Road, Yusuf Lule Road. These are major arteries in the city. They carry the biggest volume of traffic. If they're impeded by poor road conditions, even other sections that don't have traffic get affected. So we're saying we shall categorize a road based on the level of importance. If they are connecting roads or major arteries that are carrying traffic out and into the city, that's where I put most priority, because we don't have enough funding to do everything at the same time. So it's a matter of prioritization. With the limited funding, you do the most important things first. Like if you didn't have water at home to bathe, to come to work, you'd make sure you wash your face first. You clean the face and then come to town, and it can allow you to work. But you cannot say you're not going to work because you've not bathed your entire body. You don't have water to bathe your entire body. That's what I'm saying. The issue of border, true. Borders are a menace in the city. Regarding criminality, no crime happens in the city without a border. Accidents, you have 10 bodies in our city mortuary every day. We're not in a war zone. Just because it's border people are not trained, they're not trained to drive on the road. Air quality, they use a two-stroke engine. It pollutes the air more than even a Fuso truck, a simple border. So there are many imperatives to streamline borders. And we're at the last stage of doing the streamlining. We're at the point of registration now. We've built up an app, and we're going to be registering borders. We've defined the stages that are going to be in the city. They're going to be about 700 stages, and we shall assign any permitted rider to bid on a particular stage. Those who are not assigned to any stage will have to leave the city. So once we implement the last stage, then those who are not registered will have to get out. Because now there are many people who you do not know, who are not even stakeholders in the city, who are in the city operating border business. So that issue of border, we are on it. We've not lost sight of it. The gentleman who talked about stabilization technology, yeah, there are other technologies that are available for patching, where you can even patch when it is raining. You come and dump a patch, and even the traffic compacts it. But we've had many engagements with partners who have those kind of technologies. We've not yet come up with one with a proven, tried and tested one that gives us value for money for us to deploy. But those technologies are available. Now, what caused KC workers to uproot the palm trees in the city? Yes, that is something that caused an uproar in the city. But of course now, when we planted those palm trees, there are those that had died. They stay standing, but they've died. We need to uproot them to be able to replace them. There are those that were misaligned, either under cables or under electric poles, and they cannot be sustained there. Those also have to be removed. We are removing, but with a plan to replace them. We're not just removing without a plan to replace them. So we shall replace them, and maybe at this point I could also indicate the private, apart from HAM giving us 100,000 trees, of 100,000 palm trees to deploy in the city, plant in the city, private sector foundation gave us 1 million trees. But now we're being careful how we receive that donation. We must make sure there's a sustainability plan. We know which species are we getting. Where are we going to deploy them? Are we deploying them to protect the boundaries of wetlands, to show the boundaries of drainage channels, so that people know if you build within the bounds of the channel, you evacuate yourself. We don't have to come and evacuate you. Then the issue of why do you allow the rich to build in wetlands in Kawaku? Now, I have news for those who are doing this, because many times the challengers, people think we are allowing these people to build. You'll find Fusos at night driving gravel to dump in wetlands to be able to reclaim them. Of course, KC doesn't work at night. It's only an instance where you get a report but the people are already gone home. So you find that these challenges, as we find people developing odd hours, and we cannot enforce. Now,
sorry to interject, because also these I've had many people talk about it, that if you know that a crime is habitually being committed at such a time, what are we doing? Because for a long time, officials from KCC have pointed out issues of weekends, have pointed out issues of at night as a reason we are seeing some of these buildings. Even some tell you that those we stop continue building at night. When are we going to stop lamenting and find a solution to the night issue? Or we agree there is nothing we can do about it?
I think we should accept one thing. Uganda is a country of laws. We cannot keep on fighting each other all the time. What's happening in Lobiji is testament to what's going to happen to people who are breaking the law. You lose a lot of money. We cannot keep on, if somebody walks in here and probably has a gun and shoots us, are you going to blame the police? He's just a criminal. Now, criminal acts by citizens to the detriment of the country should be prepared to pay. At one point, that house will be pulled down. If you're going to deploy your billion, deploy it in a safe way to make sure it is sustainable. You must make sure you have a permit. There is no reason why you go and now degrade the wetland. You're operating at night, and then when we come to demolish, then you complain. You don't get compensation for that. So there is a high price coming. It may not come now, but it's for sure coming. You cannot go to the bank. The banks will ask you for, where is your building permit? Where is your occupation permit? Okay? If you don't have all that, you cannot even secure a loan against your structure. So there are many disadvantages, and I would like to implore Ugandans, don't ask what government should do or has not done. Ask what you yourself are doing to reduce the burden that government has to bear. We can all go littering the city with garbage. I am in my car, I throw out the bottle. I am walking around, I'm littering the city. You're imposing a cost. So you cannot now say, because you're watching. Yes, you're watching, but then why are you now causing the burden to the city? So mindset must change. It is because you cannot do everything. We cannot. Now, I'll talk to the last issue, which will explain the cost of ADB. Can't we have done more with the money we have? And I'd like to assure the public, and I told you, the initial plan was to implement 70 kilometers using that trillion budget we got from ADB. Because of the highly competitive process and transparent procurement process, we're going to do more roads. We saved money. We saved about 200 billion out of conducting a transparent, competitive procurement process. And that 200 billion is going to be deployed. We shall be able to do about between 100 and 120 kilometers as opposed to 70 kilometers. So whoever spread the narrative that the costs were overly inflated, please look again.
Now I have, we shall take only 2 more questions. And one here is, dear director, what is the fate of the fountain built then KCCA during Musisi for beautification of Kampala, but ended up narrowing Kampala Road? Why not redesign the street, then have that fountain back? This is Bosco Okello. Thanks, Engineer David, for the great work despite having a small budget. What is your take on covered side drains as opposed to open ones, which are easier to maintain?
Thank you so much. Now, the fountain at KPC, we've often have heard about it a lot. Now, when we began this program of signalizing the roundabouts, That junction is also being affected. It's going to be remodeled. That junction below KPC is being remodeled. That's why we stopped any improvement to that fountain. So the public needs to be patient before we conclude this removal of roundabouts and installation of signalized junctions. That junction will be improved, and you'll see the product that comes out. It will be a much better outfit for the city. Now, the issue of why are we using covered drains as opposed to open drains. Now, you'll discover that when we use covered drains, we have a walkway on top of the drain. Now, if you have open drains, you shall have to have a walkway and the open drain on the side. So you need more road space. And as you know, Kampala is short of space. So it's more efficient to have a covered drain and have a walkway on it than to have a side drain that is open. Then, of course, the habits of Kampala. I'm not saying we should encourage. If wherever we have drains, people use it as a dumping ground. So it's safer to have a covered drain rather than having an open drain that will become a place of litter.
Then someone talks about, you're talking about drainage and people dumping rubbish, but I think the problem is yours. You've not provided enough, and even the tenderers you gave the contracts are very expensive and exploitive. So people have no alternative but to dump garbage.
It's partly true, partly not true, partly not correct. Yes, we've not provided litter bins in the city. We've not provided places where people can be able to dump garbage. That one is true. During NAM, we tried to deploy some litter bins, but of course the misuse of the bins became an issue. Hence we paused so that we can figure out what works for Kampala. Now,
I love the word "what works for Kampala." Yes.
Now the issue
knowing the people you're working.
Now, of course, but again, the issue is just because we're not provided should not encourage bad habits.
Yes.
Okay. Just because there's no litter bin, it doesn't hurt you to carry your bottle in your car, carry your garbage in your car, get at home, put it in a bin at your home. Then it is collected.
Now, the collection engineer, let me just inform you that sometimes it's also very expensive for an ordinary person. You find that the contractors you gave to pick, I don't want to mention names. Now, the charges they charge these people, someone looks at a sack, a bin, and says this is 10,000, this is 15,000, yet maybe not so many homes can afford that.
Of course, that is a legitimate concern of the public, but we've not gotten as much feedback as that. But because now many of these charge out rates are actually approved by our council, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, we don't give somebody any concession contract to overcharge the public. Now, we as KCCA, we collect from the slums where people cannot afford. So our garbage trucks focus on collecting garbage from the slums.
And I must have seen them there.
So that's where we go and collect. We hope that the well-to-do communities are charged a fair price to be able to collect, because the frequency is about 2 times a week. So 2 times a week, I think you pay, I don't know what the charges are, but we expect that charges to be fair and reasonable, not out of this roof. So, but I'll take note.
Next time I'll host you on issues of garbage,
yes,
because I must be honest with you, the charges are relatively and unpredictable. Someone just looks at the garbage and says, give me 15,000. I put this on the truck. If
one lift?
Yes. If not, we'll be having messages and you'll be getting feedback.
That's interesting. So
you don't have a standard fee, first and foremost. So it's at the mercy of these boys on this truck to look and figure out maybe how much, or someone who is like their supervisor.
I think what we shall do, we shall have standard bags and the standard rate for each bag. Okay? If you have 5 liter bags filled, you know how much you're going to pay.
Yes.
That will make it a lot easier. I'll communicate to our team so that we don't encourage abuse of authority we've given the private sector.
Well, I just first of all want to thank our viewers. There are so many messages. We may not have enough time to go through them. But many here, I have good morning UBC, thanks for the show. Can Deputy ED clarify more on land encroaching in gazetted? But this I think we've handled previously. I'm Debas from Kampala. The flooding in Kampala comes from people's roofs. Okay, this one talks about roofs. People do not harvest water. you should host our guest again. Well, that we shall do, but today we hope he has mentioned and talked about a number of things. Now, as we wind up, ED, what is your parting shot to Ugandans regarding the road network and the planned, anxious waiting to see, signalized roundabouts?
My parting shot is this to fellow people in Kampala. As KCCA, we're not folding our arms and seeing all these problems devastate the city. We are working with the limited resources we have to make sure we have a better city. Now, that being said, the public has a lot more to do to make Kampala better, by behaving better, by conducting ourselves to standard norms in a capital city. Don't dispose garbage indiscriminately. Don't encroach on wetlands, on reserves of channels. These are areas which are protected for a particular purpose. You cannot expect KCC and the government to cure problems created that are man-made. There's not enough budget to resolve that. Otherwise, if we don't work together, the city will be difficult to manage. We are trying our best. We spend the whole night trying to think about how to solve the problems of Kampala. And we hope that moving forward, we shall continue to communicate what we are doing, what we expect it to do, and for a better city and a greater capital for the country.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Engineer David Duyimbazi, Deputy Executive Director, Kampala Capital City Authority. There is so much hope. He mentioned of at least an improvement in the budget allocation. So a way to see the fruits of that improvement, but also a grant where we are going to be seeing a number of roundabouts worked upon and have better signal than the roundabouts we've been used to. That will save time, and of course time is productivity, we hope, to this nation. Thank you so much for your time. Many have said bring him back. Well, that would depend on my producer and UBC, if we can have him more on the show and discuss issues of Kampala. There is craving that there is so much we've not been able to touch, yet the people are willing to hear and understand more. The issues of enforcement, I've seen them there. Issues of the KCA clinics and hospitals, I've seen them there, and so many. But we'll find time, hopefully, that God willing, and we'll have this explained to you. Thank you for being with us. See you tomorrow, God willing. For God and my country, God bless Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo,
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are